Hello, welcome. Today's video is going to be all about the art of upselling for blue-collar business owners, specifically home service-based folks that want to make more money on the back end of projects. You spend a lot of time bringing in a lead, possibly even a bunch of money, bringing that prospect into your world. Why sell them on your basic front-end package when you can get them right off the rip on the long-term back-end packages as well? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm here with my assistant, Aydin. As with a lot of my videos, Aydin asks questions and I answer them. And in his brilliant self, he goes and cuts them up to make it condensed for you, the viewer, to get as much information as possible. The art of upselling, we're going to break it down. Value, conversation, close, how to make more money, better margins, and just be a better business owner at the end of the day. Aydin, welcome. Let's talk.
Hello, Dan. Good morning.
Yes. What's going on, man? I know you made the questions for me. You've got some stuff to talk about today. Aydin's job is to get this information out of my head onto the internet and then out to you guys who are watching. So, what's up?
What even is upselling? What are we talking about when we're saying they're upselling?
So, upselling, if you're in the business, you're probably already well aware of it. If you're not, if you're new to the business, upselling essentially is making a prospect interested in what you sell on the back end. And what does that mean? Back end meaning a back end product, right? Let's say you're a pest control guy and you sell them a cockroach preventative plan, right? And that's $100 a month, $150 a quarter, whatever your prices may be. And then while you're there doing the inspection, you're able to sell them on a premium package about carpenter bees or termite preventative maintenance, things along that line that are additional revenue sources on the back end, essentially, is what upselling is.
What's that big hesitation?
Well, the big hesitation that technicians have when on a job site about upselling is, number one, they're just not good at selling. They view sales as sleazy or as pushy, and that's the whole point of this video today, is to show you that it doesn't have to be sleazy. It doesn't have to be, slimy, right? Selling is selling when you're giving them something they need, right? If you're doing something along the lines of trying to convince them to buy something they don't need, that's sleazy. For example, a good friend of mine used to work for a carpet cleaning company, did these carpets, and they would go to these houses, really low-income houses, and they pushed their salespeople to try to push treatments that these people didn't need. And they were on a quota system that if they didn't meet their quota, they didn't get their extra money, their bonus, things like that. So my friend would be in these low-income houses and being urged or obligated to have to sell trash that the homeowners didn't need, right? So sales is sleazy when you do it in the sense of unethical, pushing stuff that people don't need, but it's actually, if you view it as something they do need, and you're selling them something they do need, now it's more of a, I have to do this. If this person needs this service, I'm actually doing them a disservice by not convincing them to buy it. And that's where upselling becomes easy, when you're actually selling something that you, number one, believe in, and number two, the customer actually needs. Another example, if I go into an HVAC, I'm in the HVAC business, and I go into a home and I look at the unit and it doesn't need fixing, and I just make something up, that's just me being a slimeball, right? But if I see it's an older system and that homeowner could benefit from an annual maintenance plan because they're going to save money when it ultimately goes down, I got to sell them that. And if I don't, I'm not doing my job. Well, the big thing that a lot of technicians and business owners do right out the gate is they've never read a single sales book. and they think, hard-headedly enough, trust me, I've been there, I've been in sales a long time, I don't need to read no book, I've already been there, Sure, but that doesn't mean you're doing it right or efficient. Just because you make sales doesn't mean that you are a proficient salesman. And that's what I want people watching this to realize, is that the more you educate yourself about the world of sales, the better you're going to be able to do it. For example, you go into somebody's house and you go straight to the problem right off the rip. they're going to be like, oh, oof, that sounds dangerous, or not dangerous. They're going to say, that sounds bad. Oh my gosh, it's going to be really expensive. But if you go in there and you build up a little bit of rapport, you build up a little bit of conversation, and then you start asking them questions to obtain their desire, to obtain their pain point, their objections, their obstacles. Now, as you're getting that information into your brain, you can then formulate your pitch based around it. And in the sales world, we call that customizing the offer. The actual offer you're giving them, the actual service, the technician, the actual job that's being done, that stays the same. But the way you frame it is going to depend on the information they've already given you. You essentially take their words, repeat them back to them, and say, this is the solution, bam, bam, bam. That's sales. That's upselling. That is ultimately the name of the game. And guess what I learned that from? A freaking book. Read books, become a better salesperson, or just keep watching these videos. And that's what a lot of people do. I had a call yesterday. I just finished building a house here in Western North Carolina. It's a new build. I don't have a pest control guy. And one of my client acquisition models is to go on page 3 of Google, call somebody up, say, hey, I want to give you some money. They're like, great, I love money. And then I say, oh, but by the way, I found you on Google, to which they also say, great. And they get all excited. I'm getting some money. Somebody found me on Google. And then I hit them with that's the good news. The bad news is you were on page 3. Oh, really? That sucks. And then I say, I can help you with that, but first, let me give you some money, right? So that's what I did. I called the bug guy on page 3. He's going to come by on noon tomorrow, and we're going to talk, right? But the initial conversation, ideally, or ultimately, it was a sales call for him. He's getting a customer, right? But at the same time, it was a sales call for me. I was building up the rapport. I was building up the relationship, and I was leading with value in the sense that I'm going to give you money, which completely disarms that, right? If you're a small service-based business owner and you're looking to lead with value, which you should do, it doesn't have to be giving them money, but it can be giving them a free estimate, some expert advice, tips on how to mitigate the problem until they're ready to purchase, things like that. Leading with value builds the relationship. So with this bug guy that I just called, I told him, listen, I want to give you some money, and I'm going to be fully transparent. I want to have some time with you to talk about your marketing and how I can help you with your ads and your organic presence and your reviews and things like that. To which he said, it sounds awesome. But the only reason I got there was because I led with the value of me offering to give him money first. So again, you don't have to be that person to offer money to a potential customer. That doesn't make sense for you. However, if you lead with the value point of a tip, some advice, a free consult, and just being a genuinely good person, guess what? That lubes out of the deal a little bit, and they're that much easier to close when you go to upsell it.
Leading with value, doesn't that just make it that you're giving away information for free with nothing in return always?
Yes, that is a very good observation, and you're right. However, leading with value is actually, in the grand scheme of things, going to help you. And the reason I say that, sure, you will get tire kickers. You will get people that take your advice and they run with it and they go fix it themselves. Here's the thing, though. They weren't going to buy from you anyway. They were never going to buy from you. But you at least gave them value, so if something that does happen that they can't fix down the road happens, now they're like, shit, I can't fix this myself. I do need to call homeboy back. You built that relationship early on, and whether it's, 90 days, 6 months, or a whole freaking year, they're going to remember you. But that also gets us into the deeper stuff about the art of building your list and making a follow-up situation to where you're reaching out to them. Because I've said it before, I'll say it again. Marketing efficiently is the right message to the right person at the right time. So if you give value to somebody, you go out to their home, a free consult, you give them some tips on how to mitigate, say, some poor drainage or something along those lines, and you help them mitigate it on the front end because maybe they can't afford you right now. It's not the right time for them. Number 3, right? And now, when it is the right time and it does get to be too bad, they're going to remember you, all right? Let them fix it themselves. They didn't have the money to buy from you anyway. And if it gets to the point where you can't, you're giving up too much of your time doing free consults, charge a consult fee. Listen, I'll come out for $50. I'll come out for $75 or whatever it may be. What's your time worth? But we need to fill the pipeline with leads. The more leads that we fill up into our funnel, then the more picky we can be with our consults. But when you're just starting out or your marketing's not dialed in yet, quite simply, you have to take every consult you can get, and you're trading your time for those consults, hoping to get jobs. And that's where I come in. And what I do is being able to convert those leads into jobs and making sure the follow-up systems are in place, so on and so forth.
It sounds like a fishing game. If you lead with value, then that helps to build the rapport.
Bro, it is a fishing game. The value is the bait, right? You're throwing a line out there with some value, and you could do it in person in a consult call, but you can also do it in a form of a lead magnet. And what is a lead magnet? If you're a small service-based business owner, you probably don't know what a lead magnet is, like by definition. However, you've seen plenty of them. You've seen them on the internet. You've opted in to get things before, right? Every time you opt in with your email on a website, anywhere for any industry in any niche, you're opting in for that business's lead magnet. And what is that? It's a value piece. It's something of value that helps the prospect, the targeted prospect, aka you who opted in, understand what it is they do. So down the road, they got the right person. They hit you with the right message, and when it's the right time, you're going to convert for whatever it is they're selling on the back end. Again, upselling you on. Oftentimes, lead magnets are free. Sometimes they cost a couple of bucks. If you're good at marketing, you can charge for them. If you're not good at marketing, you make them free. Well, nevertheless, you're getting the right prospect into your world, and you're building a relationship. And that is the art of upselling. Relationships. There's your freaking secret.
So it sounds like lead magnets are important for value to your leads. And it sounds like the right message with that lead magnet is also helpful.
Sure.
Let's talk about...
Oh, hold on before you go there. So lead magnets are passive value, right? Value, not passive, is you going out there and doing it yourself. You have to be doing one of them at all times, right? Preferably both. You're still hitting the streets, you're pounding the pavement, and you're providing value in person, but you also have a lead magnet set up digitally that can do the work for you when you're sleeping, that kind of stuff.
So before we go any further with more information, let's talk about your sign in the background, the whiteboard, because I know that you created that before you started it. Let's talk about what's on it and the things that it features.
Okay, so obviously the art of upselling. We talked about value, conversation, close, right? If you lead with value, the conversation goes smooth and it makes the close that much easier, right? When you close that, you're going to get better customers, right? Because they understand the process, the expectations have been laid out, that they know what's to come. Right? And because of that, you're going to make more money on the back end stuff. You're going to have less stress because you have better customers. You're going to have a smoother flow acquisition-wise because it unclogs the funnel. And then, of course, better margins because you're making more money. It's all interrelated. I put a bunch of bubbles up there, but it all comes from the STEM core premise of having that relationship built before you try to sell them anything. And that comes with leading with value. If you get nothing else from this video, lead with value and be genuine. I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier. If you're forcing an upsell that doesn't need to be there, you're not operating in an ethical manner, right? If it's something that's very obvious that they need, then you need to do it right away. Like I said, it's your obligation. My sales mentor years ago told me that, listen, you're not pushing something if you truly believe that they need it. If you truly believe they need it, it's your obligation to make sure that you do whatever you can to get them to buy it. People's natural instinct to anything sales, no matter how good your relationship is going to be to pull back, right? Your job as a salesperson or your tech's job is to make that pullback as minimal as possible. And if you're able to do that, they're going to be a little bit more receptive. I say it all the time, people hate sales. They hate being sold to, even if they need it. You could be a guy that's walking through the Sahara Desert for a whole ass day in the sun, sweating your nuts off, and you walk up into his oasis and there's this guy with a brick and cooler and water and he says for sale, and you're gonna say, oof, he's gonna sell me. I hope it's not a whole lot of money. I wonder what he's charging for it. You're gonna immediately wonder, what am I getting sold on? Is it just the water? Am I gonna have to buy something else? Your job as a salesperson is to mitigate that from the get. If you can do that and they walk up a little bit less apprehensively, the sale's that much more easy to close. I don't really have any specific examples, but leading with an education approach. For example, you own a small home service-based business, right? You're watching this. I own a marketing agency. This video right now is educational value to you. My hope is you watch this video, you follow me on YouTube or wherever it is you see this, and you continuously watch my stuff because Aydin's been putting it out consistently. And you think, you know what? I relate to this guy. He's got a flannel shirt on. He knows what he's talking about. He seems blue collar like me. I came from the same background as what likely the person watching this has come from. And the whole idea is you watch this and you enter my world from the free educational value. And what I've always done in marketing, if it works on someone else, it's going to work for somebody else. So follow the same steps: education and value, good relationship and proper rapport, and then a close on the back end. You're going to get more customers into your world that way. Right message, right person, right time, but it's also know, like, and trust. You're watching this video and you're just getting to know me. You don't like me. Well, maybe you might like me. You don't know yet, but you certainly don't trust me. I'm just some freaking guy on the internet. But eventually, my goal for my potential customers to bring into my agency is to get you to know, like, and trust me. And right now, as you've entered my world watching this video, all 5 of you in the early stages are going to know me. And eventually you will like me. Eventually you will trust me. And eventually we'll work together. And I'll continuously give you value until that happens. I'm not going to go break it all down and create this whole website flow funnel situation for you, not for free. But I'm going to give you the tools and the resources that if you really had the time, you could probably go do yourself. Let's do this. Let me switch to my screen here. Boom. We're going to go on this. The greatest salesman in the world. You're going to go read this book. It is called The Greatest Salesman in the World, and you're going to practice everything you learn in it. If you read this book, you will become better at sales. It's as simple as that. That's book number 1. Book number 2 is Sell or Be Sold. Grant Cardone. If you're in sales, you've probably heard of him. But this book is really, really good. It's a very large influence on my sales foundation. So that's book number 2. And then Never Split the Difference is book number 3. Those are the 3 books you must read to become better at sales. If you read those 3 books, you will be an ace. And even when you're done, don't stop learning. Too many people, they think, I read 1 book, I'm good, I know it all. Bro, sales does not change the strategy. However, the tactics in which we deliver it. And we're now even getting down to the nuance of tonality. What you say, the pauses you have in between it. See how I just paused right there? You're like, oh, what's he going to say again? Little things like that will go a long way in your sales process. And when you have yourself out hitting the streets, going into homes, or you have technicians that are doing it, they need to be trained on this stuff. And there's a reason that salespeople charge big dollars to do in-person consultations or in-person training with your staff. They are worth every single penny of investment. $1 into a sales course is going to pay hundreds of dollars on the back end, right? Invest in your sales team and you will become better at this overnight, right? And every night that happens, you're going to become better and better. So read those books. That's how you start.